They scream, "We're not free." But what they really mean is, we're no longer in control. Let's call it for what it is. The Ku Klux Klan and every white supremacist offshoot out here crying about freedom are nothing more than relics of a dying empire gasping for breath. And now, because the tide is turning and justice is rising, they're clutching at fake victimhood to stay relevant. They can't walk with unchecked power anymore, so now they stomp their feet like toddlers yelling about censorship and patriotism, when in reality, they just can't spew hate without consequences. Boo-hoo. They twist the truth, cloak their poison in flags, Bibles, and family values, but we know better. They're not fighting for freedom. They're throwing tantrums because they lost their crown. They aren't oppressed, they're just mad they can't oppress everyone else. They want to convince the weak-minded that America is being taken from them, but America was never theirs to own in the first place. The land was stolen, the blood was spilled, and the system was rigged. Now that the scales are finally trying to balance, they're terrified. So they invent lies, conspiracy theories, and spin a delusional fantasy of being replaced. But here's the real horror for them. Nobody's replacing them. Equality is just finally kicking the damn door open, and they can't slam it shut anymore. Every time civil rights rise, black rights, brown rights, LGBTQ+ rights, immigrant rights, women's rights, these hate groups get louder, nastier, and more desperate. But guess what? Their time is almost up. Their message is rotting. And the new generation sees right through them. They're losing grip, and that's why they're panicking. That's why they're hiding behind victim masks, crying freedom while dreaming of domination. They say they're not free? Good. That's what happens when equality starts becoming real. You don't get to be free to lynch, burn, terrorize, and spread fear. You don't get to dominate anymore. The game changed, and they're mad they can't control the board. And to every person reading this, sitting in silence, thinking this isn't your problem, open your eyes. When fascism knocks, it doesn't care what color you are when you're kneeling. This is the time to rise. This is the time to move. Complacency is betrayal. Your silence is a permission slip for hate to march freely. Get up. Protest. Speak. Fight. White supremacy, the delusion that refuses to die. Once upon a time, not in fairy tales, but in the bloody pages of real history, there rose a belief so toxic, so vile it turned entire nations into battlegrounds. A belief built not on truth, but on delusion. That belief? That the white race is superior to every other race walking this earth. From the cotton fields of the South to the concentration camps of Europe, this lie has worn many faces: slavery, segregation, genocide, police brutality, lynchings, hate groups, and systems stacked to favor one skin over another. But peel back all those layers, and the same rotten core remains. They believe they are better than us. To them, Black excellence is a threat. Latino unity is a problem. Asian achievement is suspicious. Native resilience is offensive. And Jewish survival is unacceptable. Why? Because white supremacy isn't about culture or heritage. It's about control. It's about domination. It's about erasing everyone who refuses to kneel. They say it's about preserving tradition, but the truth is, they are preserving oppression. They glorify a past soaked in the blood of the innocent, worship a false narrative where they were always the heroes, never the murderers. They don't want equality, they want superiority, no matter the cost. They hide behind slogans like white pride or American values, but behind those slogans are burning crosses, Confederate flags, and the cries of people whose lives were destroyed because they were born the wrong race. White supremacy is not just a belief. It's a disease. A generational virus passed down in whispers at the dinner table, in laws written by cowards in suits, and in bullets fired in silence. And every time we ignore it, minimize it, or try to both sides it, we feed it. This isn't ancient history. This is now. Right now, somewhere, someone is teaching their child to hate. Someone is planning their next attack. Someone is standing in a courtroom getting away with murder because of the color of their skin. But we are not powerless. We are not voiceless. And we are not going away. Expose it. Confront it. Shout it out of every shadow it tries to crawl into. Because the only way to kill white supremacy is to suffocate it with truth, with unity, and with an unshakable refusal to stay silent. White nationalism, the agenda of erasure. White nationalism isn't just about waving flags or hiding behind fake patriotism. It's a full-blown war cry. It's the belief that America should be white and white only. Don't be fooled by their code words like preserving heritage or protecting our borders. What they really mean is, get rid of everyone who doesn't look like them. Their dream? A nation purged of color, culture, and diversity. A country where non-whites are either deported, banned, silenced, or erased. It's not just racism, it's strategic. It's not just ignorance, it's intentional. They want to deport your neighbors, your coworkers, your children's classmates, and even the veterans who fought for this country, just because of the color of their skin or where their parents came from. If you're not white, you're on their target list. They want to ban immigration from non-European countries. That means if you're from Africa, the Caribbean, Latin America, Asia, or the Middle East. They don't want you here. Period. You could be a doctor, a student, a teacher, or a child. It doesn't matter to them. You're not welcome in their white utopia. And let's not forget preserving white culture. What exactly is that culture? One that stole land, enslaved people, erased languages, destroyed traditions, and now cries victim when the truth is finally told? They don't want to preserve anything. They want to dominate. They want a society where white is the default and everything else is either exoticized, criminalized, or erased completely. White nationalism isn't about loving your country. It's about hating everyone who doesn't fit into their twisted idea of what this country should be. They rewrite history, glorify genocide, and pretend America was always meant to be white, when in reality, this land was taken, not born white. They believe that their identity is under attack, but what's really under attack is their power, their monopoly on control. They're terrified of equality because they know it means they'll finally be held accountable for centuries of injustice. So don't sit back. Don't stay quiet. Every time you speak out, every time you show up, every time you call out their lies, you are tearing down the wall they're trying to build. Because this country doesn't belong to them. It belongs to all of us. And that's what they fear most. Christian identity extremism, a blasphemy masquerading as faith. Let's get one thing straight. The Ku Klux Klan is not Christian. They are heretics in robes. They are extremists cloaked in white sheets, hiding behind twisted Bible verses while spreading racism, violence, and hate in the name of God. This isn't just ignorance, it's blasphemy. They don't follow Christ, they follow supremacy. They don't preach the gospel, they preach genocide. The so-called Christian identity movement is a dark cult that dares to use the holy name of Jesus while spewing doctrines that would make Satan himself grin. They claim white people are the true Israelites as if God's love is restricted by skin color. They twist the Bible into a weapon, slicing the truth to fit their agenda. They teach that people of color were created by God to be servants or savages. Let that sink in. They teach children that Black, brown, Asian, indigenous, and Jewish lives are beneath them by God's design. That is not Christianity. That is hate in a stolen robe. They've desecrated scripture. They've rewritten history. They hide behind crosses and churches while committing evil in the name of a whitewashed savior that never existed. Jesus was not white. He was not silent. And he sure as hell didn't stand with the Klan. Real Christianity uplifts the broken, defends the oppressed, welcomes the stranger, and judges no one by the color of their skin. But these extremists have flipped the gospel upside down. They wear the name of Christ but walk in the footsteps of Pharaoh, Herod, and every other oppressor God has destroyed. They've infected pulpits. They've infiltrated politics. They've hijacked churches to preach segregation and supremacy as if God wrote it himself. But God never wrote racism into his word, man did. This movement is not about God, it's about power. It's about building a religious shield to justify white nationalism, slavery, and apartheid. It's a spiritual disguise for political violence, a camouflage for white terror. This is not the faith our ancestors died for. This is not the gospel the apostles preached. This is not the Christianity that saved lives, fed the poor, healed the sick, and broke chains. This is deception. This is spiritual warfare. And it's time we called it out for what it is. Expose them. Condemn them. Tear the white hood off their false doctrine and reveal the face of the devil beneath it. The real Jesus stood with the poor, the marginalized, the foreigner, the persecuted, not the oppressors who burn crosses in his name. To the KKK and every other white supremacist hiding behind Christianity, your religion is counterfeit. Your gospel is hate. And your God is not mine. The lie that never dies, the anti-Semitic conspiracy machine. Let's put this out there with no filter. The white supremacist playbook is built on one of the oldest, dirtiest lies in human history, that Jewish people secretly run the world. They've been pushing this garbage for centuries. It didn't start with the KKK. It didn't start with Hitler. It goes all the way back to the ancient fear of power not being in the hands of white men. That's what this is really about. They scream that Jews control the banks, the government, the media, Hollywood, and immigration. They claim there's some secret plan to replace white people, to destroy Christian America, to flood the country with immigrants, to start wars just for profit. But here's the cold truth. These lies are their shield and their weapon. They blame Jews for everything: economic crashes, social change, crime, immigration, even COVID. They use these lies to distract from who's really pulling strings in this world. The corrupt systems built by the same greedy men in power, who also happen to scapegoat Jewish people to stay untouchable. They want a boogeyman. They need a target. And they've chosen Jewish people because it's convenient. Because it's historical. Because it gets people angry and afraid. It's psychological warfare, plain and simple. Repeat the lie enough, and the uneducated will believe it's fact. That's why these lies survive, because fear is a drug. And these cowards are hooked on it. Let's be clear, Jewish people are not behind some secret cabal. They are not the puppet masters. They are human beings. Some are rich. Some are poor. Some are conservative. Some are liberal. But none of them deserve to be blamed for the crimes and failures of white supremacy. This lie kills. It led to the Holocaust. It led to church shootings. It leads to hate crimes, violence, book burnings, swastikas on playgrounds, and graves desecrated. It poisons minds. It fuels terror. This isn't just talk. It's domestic terrorism disguised as concern. It's fascism with a whisper. It's a secret code passed around message boards and hate groups, pretending to be truth. But it's not truth, it's a virus. The kind of virus that divides, blinds, and burns entire civilizations to the ground. We must call it out every single time. No silence. No tolerance. No excuse. If you're spreading these lies, you're not woke. You're not informed. You're not a patriot. You're a pawn in the oldest hate game on earth. And if you're not fighting back against this conspiracy, you're letting it grow in your community, your church, your neighborhood, your family. The truth they don't want you to know about white supremacy and immigration. Let's stop sugarcoating what this really is. When white supremacists say they oppose immigration from non-European countries, what they're really saying is, we want to keep America white. They don't care about the economy. They don't care about legal versus illegal. They don't care about border safety. Their issue isn't with immigrants, it's with skin color. It's with culture. It's with anything that doesn't look, sound, or pray like them. They view multiculturalism, the very soul of America, as a threat to their precious racial purity. Let that sink in. Purity. They use the same language that Hitler used to justify the Holocaust. They believe too many black families, Latino workers, Asian businesses, Muslim refugees, indigenous voices, and mixed-race marriages taint what they think America should be, white, Christian, European, and under their control. That's not patriotism. That's fascism wrapped in a flag. They scream about preserving culture, but whose culture? It's not about American values. It's about white dominance. They want to roll the clock back to a time when nobody could challenge their power. A time when Jim Crow ruled, when signs said whites only, when people of color knew their place. They don't fear immigrants. They fear equality. They fear walking down the street and seeing that the future of this country doesn't look like 1950s television. They fear the melting pot. Because once we all stand equal, their throne crumbles. That's why they demonize immigrants, attack diversity, rewrite history books, flood the internet with hate, and elect politicians who echo their rage in public while hiding their white hoods in private. This isn't about borders. It's about blood. It's about control. It's about hatred dressed in patriotism. It's about keeping America a country where only white people lead, profit, own, and dominate. And here's the nightmare. If we don't stand up, speak out, and protest with fire in our veins, these extremists will rewrite the laws, the schools, and the future to fit their fantasy, and they're doing it right now while the rest of the country sleeps. We are not afraid. We are the resistance. And we are wide awake. The ugly truth about homophobia and transphobia, a fight to control your identity. Let's be real for a second. Homophobia and transphobia aren't just disagreements or different views. These are weapons. Weapons designed to break you down, tear apart your humanity, and trap you in outdated cages of shame and guilt. They're pushing an agenda that views LGBTQ plus people as morally corrupt, unnatural, wrong. Let's break that down. Morally corrupt? Because they love who they love? Because they are brave enough to be who they truly are? Because they dare to defy your narrow, outdated version of normal? This is about control. This is about forcing you into a mold they've created for you, one where your gender, your sexuality, and your identity are decided for you before you're even born. A mold that says, there is only one way to live, only one way to love, only one way to be a man, a woman, a human being. They scream for a return to rigid, outdated gender roles because they can't handle the beautiful, messy, vibrant reality that gender is a spectrum and love is limitless. They want to erase the progress we've made toward freedom and equality. They want to roll us back to a time when people had to hide who they were in fear of losing their families, their jobs, their lives. A time when being gay, lesbian, or trans was treated like a disease, a crime, or a curse. The truth is, they fear what they can't control. They fear your strength. They fear your ability to love beyond their restrictions. They fear your right to exist on your own terms. And here's the worst part. If we don't speak up, they will succeed. They'll push more laws. They'll poison more minds. They'll convince more people that your identity, your love, your very existence is something that should be hidden, suppressed, or erased. If you're silent, you're complicit. If you don't show up for your LGBTQ plus brothers and sisters, you're letting the darkness win. We are in the fight for our humanity right now. And if we don't stand up, if we don't demand our voices be heard, the world they want to create, where love is illegal and difference is punished, becomes our reality. We cannot let this happen. The dangerous anti-government narrative, a call for chaos and destruction. Let's expose the truth for what it is. These anti-government extremists aren't patriots. They're anarchists, plain and simple, trying to tear down the very system that grants us rights, safety, and freedom. They claim the U.S. government is corrupt or Jew-controlled, and that right there is their first lie. It's not corruption they're angry about. It's the fact that they've lost control. They want power back in their hands. And they don't care what it costs. Not your peace. Not your safety. Not your rights. Not even your lives. This isn't about fixing the system. This isn't about reform. This is about chaos. They talk about civil war, armed resistance, taking up arms against the very government that protects us from tyranny. They want to replace democracy with destruction. They want to replace law and order with bloodshed. Why? Because when the government isn't under their control, it must be corrupt or illegitimate. They wrap their grievances in slogans, but at the core, it's about power. It's always about power. They spread lies that Jews secretly run the government. They stoke fear about the deep state controlling everything from behind closed doors. And when they don't get their way, armed resistance, anarchy. They want to burn it all down because in their eyes, if they can't have control, no one should. But here's the hard truth. The moment we give in to these lies, we lose. We lose our democracy. We lose our freedoms. We lose our future. And all the while, these extremists will sit back and watch as their sick vision of America comes to life, a land of constant chaos, fear, and violence. Let's be clear, their so-called resistance is a call for the destruction of everything that makes us a nation, our laws, our communities, and our collective ability to function. We must rise against this. We must push back. We cannot let them win. Not now. Not ever. The brutal reality of violent vigilantism, the KKK's legacy of terror. Let's not sugarcoat this. The Ku Klux Klan isn't just a group of angry people. They are terrorists. They've used violence as a weapon to control, to silence, and to terrorize communities of color, activists, and anyone who dares to stand against their hate. Lynching, cross-burning, arson, beatings. These aren't just acts of violence. They are tools of intimidation, meant to strike fear into the hearts of those who fight for justice, equality, and freedom. For over a century, the KKK has used their twisted version of vigilantism to spread fear across the nation. They want to scare people into silence, into submission. They want to make you believe that if you speak out, if you dare to challenge the status quo, you'll face the same terror. But this isn't just history. The KKK still operates in the shadows, still fuels the flames of hate, and still continues their campaign of violence against innocent people. The Klan's hate hasn't gone away, it's grown more insidious. It's wrapped in new uniforms, disguised as patriotism, but the core is the same: terror. They'll do anything to preserve the status quo, to maintain their stranglehold on power. They'll burn crosses. They'll attack the innocent. They'll keep the blood flowing if it means keeping you down. But here's the thing, they cannot win. We cannot let this cycle of violence continue. We cannot let these cowards scare us into hiding, into silence, into submission. We must rise. We must speak louder, protest stronger, and demand justice. If we let these violent thugs control our streets, our communities, and our future, then we have failed. We cannot let this legacy of terror continue to haunt us. We are the resistance, and we will not back down. The Great Replacement Conspiracy, a fear-based lie to divide us. Let's get one thing straight. The so-called Great Replacement theory is nothing but a lie. A fear-mongering tactic designed to stir hatred, division, and panic. They want you to believe that white people are being replaced by immigrants, by people of color, and that it's all part of a grand conspiracy orchestrated by governments, the media, and open borders. False. This is a dangerous narrative built on fear and paranoia. There's no replacement happening. There's no dark conspiracy in motion. What we are witnessing is simply the natural evolution of global migration and changing demographics. People moving across borders, seeking refuge, seeking opportunities. It's what humans have always done throughout history: travel, migrate, and settle. But here's what the extremists won't tell you. They're using this lie to manipulate you. They want you to fear the future, fear people who look different, fear change. They want to pit us against each other, making us believe we're enemies when the truth is, we're all in this together. The reality is, we're not being replaced. We're evolving, we're growing, and we're becoming stronger by embracing diversity, by embracing a world that is more interconnected than ever before. These people want you to stay in the past, to believe in their fear-based, racist fantasies. But we can't let them win. The more they push their hateful agenda, the more we must push back. We must unite. We must dismantle these lies with the truth. And we must reject this conspiracy theory that has no place in a society built on equality and justice. We will not be divided. We will not let fear rule us. We will not let hate tear us apart. The dangerous anti-Semitic lie, exposing the conspiracy that's built on hate. Let's cut through the nonsense and expose this for what it is. The idea that Jews control the media, banking, government, and use their supposed power to manipulate the world is an old, vicious lie, one that's been spread for centuries to divide and hate. They want you to believe that Jews are secretly pulling the strings in Hollywood, in politics, and in global finance. They say Jews are responsible for promoting racial mixing and destroying white culture. False. These are not facts. These are baseless conspiracy theories that have no foundation in reality. And they've been used for centuries to create fear and hatred against Jewish people. It's rooted in anti-Semitic propaganda, like the Protocols of the Elders of Zion, a forged, fake document designed to manipulate minds and spread division. Here's the truth. Jewish people are not the enemy. These lies are the real enemy. The lies that sow division, fear, and hatred. They want you to look at your neighbor and see them as a threat, to hate them without reason, to destroy your peace and your unity. But it's time to stand up. It's time to reject these false narratives and stand in solidarity with the truth. These conspiracy theories only exist to create chaos, to build walls, and to make us distrust each other. Let's make one thing clear. Jews are not the enemy. The enemy is hate. The enemy is ignorance. The enemy is division. We must unite against these lies. We must fight back with the power of truth, knowledge, and solidarity. The more they try to divide us, the stronger we must stand together.